I'm Ryan O'Dowd, and you're listening to Ryan's Audiobooks on the Issues Magazine YouTube channel. Today I continue with Section 620, Prometheus Rising, by Robert Anton Wilson. In this section, we will read Chapter 12, The Collective Neurogenetic Circuit. It's no longer only the right that is conservative. The entire left is also suddenly conservative. The liberal and the radical left have fallen behind. F.M. Esfandiari in Upwingers. The sixth circuit of the brain kicks into action when the nervous system begins to receive signals from within the individual neuron, from the RNA-DNA dialogue, the neurogenetic feedback system. The entire nervous system, including the brain, has been designed like the rest of the body, by the code within the DNA molecule, which sends signals via messenger RNA molecules to tell the organism what to do. Grow red hair, have blue eyes, stand up and walk now, start to talk, find a mate, etc. Our entire mental lives, our brain hardware and software, exist within the perimeters of this DNA master tape. With neurogenetic consciousness, these DNA archives become accessible to brain scanning while awake. They're always accessible as archetypes of the Jungian collective unconscious during dreaming sleep. The first to achieve neurogenetic awareness a few thousand years ago spoke of memories of past lives, reincarnation, immortality, etc. That these neurological adepts were speaking of something real in the best language of their day is indicated marvelously by the fact that many of them, especially Hindus and Sufis, gave accurate poetic vistas of evolution millennia before Darwin and foresaw superhumanity before Nietzsche. The Greeks called this the vision of Pan, the Chinese, the great Tao, Hindus, Atman consciousness, the numinous, awful, sublime god, goddess, and demon figures who appear in the initial stages of this awakening are Jung's archetypes of the collective unconscious, and are recognized as victors from dreamtime by primitives, as them from city by witches, as the weird people in 1,000 folk traditions. Gurdjieff calls this circuit the true emotional center. The Akashic records of theosophy, the phylogenetic unconscious of Dr. Stanislav Grof, the Gaia hypothesis of biologists Margulis and Lovelock, which holds that the biosphere of this planet is one intelligent organism, are three modern metaphors for the circuit. The visions of past and future evolution described by those who have had trans-time experiences during close-to-death or clinical death trauma also describe the Circuit 6 neurogenetic reality tunnel. Specific exercises to trigger neurogenetic imprints are not to be found in yogic teaching. It usually happens, if at all, after many years of expertise in the kind of advanced Raja Yoga that develops Circuit 5 somatic bliss. Heavy doses of LSD, of course, always trigger temporary neurogenetic vistas. The neurogenetic circuit is best considered, in terms of current science, as a genetic archives activated by excitement of antihistone proteins. The DNA memory coiling back to the dawn of life, and containing also the genetic blueprints for the future of evolution. I am he that was, and is, and shall be, a sentence from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, in hieroglyph and in his own handwriting, was found on the desk where Beethoven composed the Ninth Symphony and all his later eon-spanning evolutionary music. One judges from this, and from the music itself, that Beethoven had opened the neurogenetic circuit. Here dwell primordial archetypes, far older than language, yet newer than tomorrow, personifying this circuit as a being. Crowley tells us, "The babe in the egg of blue," cf. the final image of Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, represents the higher self. The connection is with the symbolism of the dwarf in mythology. In his absolute innocence and ignorance, he is the fool, he is the savior, the great fool of Celtic legend, the pure fool of Act 1 of Parsifal. He's also the green man of spring festivals. So we see him fully armed by Bacchus Definus, male and female in one, the bisexual Baphomet, and Zeus Arhanathalos, equally bisexual. He is shown in this full form in the tarot trump 15, the devil. But the small person of Hindu mysticism, the dwarf, insane, yet crafty of many legends in many lands, is also the same silent self of a man or his holy guardian angel. These images are not poetic whimsies by Crowley. They reappear in the dreams of individuals, the personal myth of the night, in the midst of all peoples, the impersonal dreams of the species, and of course over and over in UFO contact stories. Study the next two images carefully. Circuit 6, neurogenetic consciousness. This symbolizes a pan-like god displaying the concept of genetic memories symbolized by the human-animal seed forms in the testicles. Another archetype from the neurogenetic archives, collective unconscious, the Great Mother symbolizing the genetic memories as illustrated by the flower, bird, etc. The language of this circuit is the multi-level language of Finnegan's Wake, where Finnegan is Finn again, Finn Mac, Cool of Irish legend, reborn and Huck Finn again also, sailing down Mrs. Liffey, both the River Anna Liffey in Ireland and Huck Finn's Mississippi, where Mark the Wan is King Mark cuckolded by Tristan, but Mark the Twy is Mark Twain, married to a wife he called Livy, just like the Irish River, and Mark the Tris is cuckolding Mark and cuckolding Tristan in one, while Marcus Lyons is all of them, plus Mark the Apostle, his emblematic lion, always shown with him in medieval art, Leo the lion, Leo in the zodiac and all associated far signs, and one of the four old men, Matt Gregory, Marcus Lyons, Luke Tarpey, and Johnny McDougall, who haunt the dreamer all night long, symbolizing the four evangelists, the four bedposts surrounding the sleeper, the four antique circuits, the four suits of tarot or ordinary playing cards, the four elements of the ancients, and all the other fours that Jung has found omnipresent in the collective unconscious. To parallel the evolution of the first four circuits in human and mammalian history, Joyce also offers the four stages of the development of the grasshopper: egg, larvae, chrysalis, adult, and such dream logical qualifications as egg burst, egg blend, egg burial, and hatch as hatch can. Their witherings and their marryings, and their buryings and their natural selections, a human pest cycling pissed and recycling past, and there he goes pust again, etc. This archetypal circuit is replete with what Jung called synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, which he attributed to the circuit's roots in what he called the psychoid level below the personal and collective unconscious, where mind and matter are not yet differentiated, the royal highway of DNA, RNA, CNS, central nervous system telegraph, in Tim Leary's metaphor. Such synchronicities are a sure sign that you're dealing with the neurogenetic circuit. For instance, in a Finnegan's Wake study group, we were all convulsed with laughter when noticing that Tutankhamun is not just a parody of American cutesy pie motel names, but another of Joyce's countless puns on Tutankhamun. At this point, my wife entered the room to inquire what was so funny. When we explained, she said, "That's a synchronicity. I was just watching a TV program about Tutankhamun." And of course, Joyce put the boy king into the dream because the main theme of Finnegan's Wake, the main theme of the neurogenetic circuit, is the survival of genetic memory through time, symbolized by the resurrection myth, and Tut was dug up, resurrected synchronistically just after Joyce started working in this epic. As Joyce explains the logic of the neurogenetic circuit, the earth of years is not save brick dust, and being humus the same returns. The earth gives back in new forms what is buried, since on the bunk of our bread-winging lies the corpse of our seed father. And fall if you but will, rise you must. The seed, the genetic code in the egg, cellular wisdom, sends a signal down the eons. In the similar metaphor of Nobel geneticist Herbert Muller, we are all giant robots manufactured by DNA to make more DNA. To the individual, the breaks in the chain of life, death, life, death, life, death are all too real and painful. To the seed and egg wisdom of the neurogenetic circuit, the seamless unity of life, death, life, death, life, death is the greater reality. The neurogenetic circuit is probably located in the right neurocortex and is more recent than the neurosemantic circuit in the back sections of the right cortex. Circuit 6 neurogenetic consciousness allows you to converse with the evolutionary architect who designed your body and billions of others since the dawn of life around 3 to 4 billion years ago. This architect is the greatest designer on this planet, as Bucky Fuller has often commented. No human architect has yet equaled her efficiency or her aesthetics in such routine products as roses, eggs, insect colonies, fish, etc. She or he can be personified in modern terms as mother DNA or father nucleic acid. The rationalist immediately objects at such personification. However inescapable it is to us all who have encountered the architect directly on this circuit, is illegitimate because she or he is unconscious. The rebuttal given by all Circuit 6 adepts in all cultures and all ages is that she or he is not unconscious but intoxicated, and it is a divine intoxication. Less poetically, whether we humanize the architect into a big mama or big daddy, or animalize it into a jackal-headed being like the Egyptian, or insexualize it into a divine praying mantis like one African tribe, or spiritualize it into something totally abstract like Hindus and Christian scientists, we're only depicting one cross-section of this 3 to 4 billion-year-old being. When we molecularize it as DNA, we are also only seeing one cross-section, the most useful cross-section for scientific analysis. That is all that needs to be said, or should be said, for the scientific materialist chemicalization of the biosphere, and it is no contradiction of direct experience of the being itself via Circuit 6 yogas, biological or chemical. Indeed, the direct experience undoubtedly can and has helped many scientists get a wider, more holistic view of what is going on in evolution, which they have brought down to Circuit 3 in better linguistic models. Teilhard de Chardin is one, but not the only example, of a scientist whose evolutionary model has been improved by such direct Circuit 6 experience. For those who have not yet had Circuit 6 experience, and most of humanity will possess the technology to turn on this circuit at will within the next 20 years, this evolutionary perspective might possibly be conveyed by a series of quantum jumps in perspective. Thus, the individual can make mistakes, even fatal ones. Consciousness of circuits 1 through 5 is far from infallible. We all get into messes and sometimes they kill us. The gene pool can make mistakes, but less frequently. Most gene pools have a lifespan far beyond any individual, by a factor of many thousands. Obviously, if we judge intelligence by survival, gene pools made up of the information of many millions of individuals are more intelligent than any individual, even geniuses. Einstein was not as smart as the Jewish people collectively. He created relativity and was smart enough to escape the Nazis. The Jews, historically, created dozens of ideas as important as relativity and survived hundreds of pogroms. The species is even more intelligent than the gene pool. It lives millions of times longer than any individual, many thousand times longer than any gene pool. The biosphere, Gaia, the DNA script, is more intelligent than all individuals, gene pools, and species. It has survived everything thrown at it for nearly 4 billion years, and it's getting smarter all the time. It's on the edge of achieving immortality. Through the Sixth Circuit, it has a better eye to see itself and judge its trajectories than ever before. It's getting ready to leave this planet and expand across the universe. Beethoven, to cite him one more time, said, "Anybody who understands my music will never be unhappy again." That is because his music is the song of the Sixth Circuit, of Gaia, the life spirit, becoming conscious of herself, of her powers, of her own capacities for infinite progress. Exercises. 1. List at least 15 similarities between New York or any large city and an insect colony, such as a beehive or termite hill. If you can't think of at least 15, read Edward Wilson's Sociobiology. Contemplate the information in the DNA loop, which created both of these enclaves of high coherence and organization in primate and insect societies. 2. Read the Upanishads, and every time you see the word Atman or world soul, translate it as DNA blueprint. See if it makes sense to you that way. 3. Contemplating these issues usually triggers Jungian synchronicities. See how long after reading this chapter you encounter an amazing coincidence, e.g. seeing DNA on a license plate, having a copy of the Upanishads given to you unexpectedly, seeing an image like Crowley's Pan or Great Mother in a work of popular art, etc. 4. Explain such a synchronicity when it occurs in Circuit 3 rationalist terms, mere coincidence, etc. Psychologist Barbara Honegger explains synchronicities by saying that the right brain hemisphere where this circuit is located moves you in space-time to the place where the synchronicity will occur, while the rationalist left brain invents rationalizations to go there. Synchronicities are a language through which this circuit communicates with the left brain, in this theory. Try explaining coincidences by that theory. What message is your right brain trying to send your left brain? 6. Jung and several of his disciples, e.g. Coleman, Steiger, Fiedler, have suggested that UFOs are messages from this collective DNA circuit to the left brain. What do such messages mean? What is the right brain trying to tell us? Thus concludes section 620 of Prometheus Rising, chapter 12, the collective neurogenetic circuit. Tomorrow we will continue with section 621, chapter 13, Introduction to the Meta-Programming Circuit. I will see you then. Alam.